happened to me today? Because I went jogging yesterday.
You did?
I did.
You're welcome. Well, hashtag 100.
So, like, I expected my legs and my calves to be sore, but my hips, like, right where that bone starts, it's so sore. So every time I laugh or I sneeze or I blow my nose, like, my core is on fire.
Your core!
Yeah, who is she? Haven't seen her in a while.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, welcome listeners to another episode of our awesome podcast. My name is Priya.
And my name is Sofia, and special shout out to Natalie C. from Israel.
She is one of our most awesome, amazing #1 fans who wrote in, and she gave us so many awesome recommendations for self-helpy type books and things we can try, and we are so grateful, baby. We love you, Natalie.
Aw, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much also to her friend Jonathan, who tried out the book that she recommended. And we're probably going to try it just because Natalie said so. And she's the owner of us now.
Yeah, we trust her implicitly. She's now our manager.
She gets 10% of everything. Just kidding, no. It's not legally binding, Natalie. It's not a legal document.
It's not legal. Sorry, Nat.
Sorry, Nat. But thank you, Jonathan and Natalie. We love you. Thank you.
And I also just want to take a moment to just like thank everyone who is listening to this podcast. People from Michigan and the UK
and Mongolia, apparently.
And Mongolia. And Sweden and Australia and all these amazing places.
Honestly, thank you, Sweden. I love your fish.
Swedish fish. We wouldn't be doing this without you guys, and we're just happy to see you guys and stuff like that.
Yeah, every time that little corner of the map gets a little more darker, like we're so excited to see someone listening to us there. So
yeah,
thank you for being fans.
And also in terms of context, what she means by corner of the map getting darker is that like we have a little like statistics thing set up so that we can see where people are listening from. And so it's not just like every map in the world that's getting darker.
Well, I mean, what Priya means is we have an evil lair.
Oh, yeah.
And we have like a big screen, like James Bond style.
And I have like a white cat that I pet in my special chair. Is exactly what I mean. You know what? I hope going forward that is exactly where you picture us recording. Like that's what our recording studio looks like. How amazing would that be?
That would be amazing.
Okay, I gotta put something into the works now. My mind is spinning with ideas, possibilities, etc.
Aw, well, speaking of ideas, today we're talking about the Killing It podcast on Spotify, and it's Killing It Adventures in Tech and Mental Health or something like that.
I think it's Adventures in Startups and Mental Health, tech startups, places and basically adventures in mental health while being an adult.
Adult entrepreneur.
Adult entrepreneur, yes.
Yeah, and by the way, just to head that off real quick, when you search Killing It on Spotify, that podcast doesn't come up. Yeah. And out of all the podcasts, do you think they know about SEO? Search engine optimization for you guys that don't know. But yeah, it was kind of disappointing that didn't come up right away. And if I hadn't been searching for it specifically, I wouldn't have found it. And it's a great podcast, actually.
It really is. And I was also surprised that it didn't pop up right away. And how did you find it again?
I found it on a list of podcasts that address mental health.
Oh, okay.
So they were talking specifically about this niche, about mental health and startups and entrepreneurs starting their own business and having all this stress and feeling kind of lonely at the top and having no one to turn to because they're supposed to be the ones who know everything and are in charge of everything.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like this is something that's being talked about more and more. And one of the things that I loved most about this podcast in particular is that it is a short series. So It's not like...
It's a mini-series podcast.
Yeah, which I just love the idea of that because they really dedicate time and energy into making every episode unbelievably amazing. They line up awesome guests, and you just get so much value out of every minute that you spend listening.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes, so if you want just something low commitment and you want to delve into this topic, this is totally a good way to delve into it.
And I think, what really draws you in is that they're interviewing actual people who are being so open about their journeys and their histories and like where they're going forward in the future. It's not just like high level talk. It's getting into the nitty gritty and like being vulnerable and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's actual entrepreneurs who are successful in their business or are on their way to becoming successful, and they talk a lot about the vision right now of entrepreneurs as like rock stars. They have it all. They have the money. They have the fame. But underneath all that, it seems like it's very easy to struggle with something else, especially with the workload that they have, and especially with like where we live, the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. We're also like right in the middle of that kind of deification of those people.
Yeah, and I think personally, like, because like we've both grown up in this area, it's not as much of a like a big deal to us.
We've dated a couple of those people.
Like we're always around them. We've grown up with them, so for us, it's kind of like okay, like you're not really like you're basically doing what everyone else is doing. But I totally understand for someone who's like actually doing stuff in that space or is like new to it and has like starry eyes, like it is such a departure from like what you think in your head to what's actually happening mentally on a day-to-day basis.
I do compare myself a lot to that image of like the perfect startup founder because I don't know, since they're like the image of success now, like I can't help but think that, but like I can't help but try to measure myself and always find myself short because of course it's an image, it's not a real person.
And that's what I think the issue is a lot of times with like even going away from like who we're seeing on a day-to-day basis with like social media and stuff, we're just seeing everyone's highlight reel. We're just seeing like the best of the best. Like we don't actually see the mental health struggles, which is why this podcast Killing It is so important.
Yeah. So do you want to go episode by episode or do you want to just like pull out moments like popcorn style?
Let's do it popcorn style.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a popcorn right now.
All right. Well, I'm going to start popcorn style, but I will start with episode 1.
Sure, yeah.
Because that is, I mean, one of the episodes that really, really spoke to me the most throughout the entire 6-episode series. And I think the part that I was so drawn to was when the woman they were interviewing, her name is Alex.
Alex Deplich, yeah.
Yep. She had this amazing startup and all this cool stuff happening, and then she got pregnant. And she actually didn't tell anyone that she was pregnant until 5 months in, and then she only told her company that she was pregnant 7 months in, and 24 hours after giving birth, she was back at it, working full steam ahead.
Yeah, and as you guessed, like she burned out really, really hard.
Really hard, really fast. And also she said that she barely even experienced like pregnancy and like that whole part of her life. It was like not even something that she realized was happening on a day-to-day basis because it wasn't even in her like purview, really. And so now she's had a second child, and she said that the reason that she wanted a second child was so that she could actually experience those things and like be a real part of it. And I was just so blown away by her being so open about this, for her like talking about like her journey into like motherhood and how balancing like being a total badass at work and like also fulfilling like what you want for yourself, like that struggle is so difficult. And I was just like incredibly, I don't even know what the word is, really.
Yeah, just touched.
Yeah, touched. Thank you.
You're welcome. What touched me about her story is that she talks about, this is the title of the episode. She says, hell yeah, I cry. Like she completely goes through the spectrum of emotions and she's not afraid to admit it. And she also admits like relapsing. She burns out again.
Yeah.
And she has to keep learning those lessons over and over again. And I think that's a really powerful thing to say as someone who's in charge of a lot of people and have a lot of important decisions in your hands every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for one person to decide what they're doing and how they're in charge of their own life, let alone like when you're responsible for like the lives and well-beings of other people and by extension their families. It's a lot of pressure.
I mean, throughout this series, they also talk about that, you know, the responsibility they have towards their employees, and actually being open about how you feel is being responsible to your employees, because you kind of set an example. If you come in at 7 a.m. every day and leave at 8 p.m., like they're going to feel pressure to work just as hard as you. Whereas if you want that work-life balance in everybody and have good employees who don't burn out, then you have to set that example as well. And they go from like setting that example but for when they come in and when they go out, and then they go as far as like having a sort of like emotion prayer circle where they're like, hey, everybody, how do you feel? Like, just lay it out right now.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned work-life balance because I think it was in 2 or 3 of the episodes where this like phrase came into the discussion and they were just saying like, I think Alex also brought it up. She was saying like, there is no such thing as work-life balance to me.
Oh yeah, it's all life.
It's all life and work is a part of life. And I thought that was so interesting because, you know, like companies everywhere, especially in the Bay Area and like that startup-y world, are like work-life balance. We give you lunch and
give
dinner.
You snacks. There's a gym membership.
Yeah, and like Google.
There's coconut water in the fridge.
Exactly. What more could you want? And like Google has like set up like laundry services for people, and now in the Bay Area they've bought a ton of land and they're actually like developing housing for their employees, and it's just like that is insane.
Yeah, it's a little, on one hand, like, do you want that much of your life to belong to your employer? But on the other hand, like, you spend so much of your life there already anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, is it cool that they're providing it for you?
Exactly. And it's basically becoming, instead of like what Alex and a couple of the other interviewees were talking about, where work is just a part of life, I feel like going down that road is very, like, it's a slippery slope because
very slippery.
Then life will just become a part of work.
And she also talks about, like, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, like, it is very chaotic. It is very full on. And she says specifically that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to not necessarily have a hard boundary between work and life. If you like that hard boundary, then don't be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, which is honestly okay. That is totally fine. If you want that life and you're good with the chaos and you like live off of that energy.
But also it's totally okay to be the kind of person like that wants to go home and turn your phone off.
Yeah. You know what? Honestly, this is completely off topic maybe to the topic, like the topics talked about in Killing It. But I think that like there's so much like bullshit pressure out there to like be a certain way, do certain things, especially like, since we've grown up in the Bay Area, like, everyone just expects you to, like, either work at a startup or, like, start your own startup, and it's just stupid. Like, what if I want to work at, like, I don't know, Cisco Systems and, like, work from 9 to 5 and then go the fuck home?
Yeah, go the fuck home. Hashtag go the fuck home.
Hashtag I want to go the fuck home. I want to take a fucking nap. Like, we shouldn't be saying that certain professional choices are less than others. It's just a matter of how you want to live your life. And that is my little rant, and I'm just so fed up with, like, people comparing each other.
Yeah, that burnout culture. And you're, like, very proud of being tired.
Yeah, like...
very proud of, like, getting only 2 hours of sleep.
Yeah, which is bullshit. You shouldn't be proud of being busy. If someone was, like, telling me, I'm so busy, like, I barely have time to sleep, and blah, 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 I'm always running to one place or another, I'm literally thinking... you need to brush up on your time management skills.
And
first
also,
of all.
like, hashtag go the fuck home.
And, like, also, you're gonna burn out. Like, that's not healthy.
No.
Like, I want to do, like, one thing that I do, at least, you know, ideally once a week or once every couple of weeks, is just have, like, I like to call these days that I do, like, Italian days. Please stop laughing. She's just, like, whooping it up in the corner.
I know exactly what you're talking about. You're just like fucking Monica Bellucci. With your wine and your cheese.
Yeah,
and like just being lazy.
Yeah, it's just...
Off the shoulder black dress.
I mean, obviously. That is all I wear. But it's just one of those days where I enjoy doing nothing. And, like, my only... you know, quote unquote goal or aim for the day is to do things that I enjoy, whether it's cuddling up with hot
and not
tea.
feel guilty about it whatsoever.
Oh yeah, that is the key. You can't be like, I really should be working on this, I really should be doing that.
Or like, this is such a guilty pleasure. Like, no, there is no guilt in this pleasure. It's just pleasure.
It's just pleasure. Like, if I want to take like a 2-hour walk on the Embarcadero and then spend 3 hours reading my Kindle at Starbucks while sipping like a venti iced coffee, I'm gonna fucking do that.
I don't think a real Italian would go to Starbucks though.
No, they wouldn't. Hey, you don't know. There's Starbucks in Italy.
True.
But it could be
Hey, if there's any Italians out there listening to
this, Please tell us where you go get your coffee. Or like, if I want to make bacon and avocado and drink like a tiny, tiny cup of espresso and wake up at 5 a.m. and just like have fun, then that's what I'm gonna do. It's just a day that I set aside to do whatever the fuck I want to do. Exactly for how long I want to do it. And it's amazing. It totally helps with my reset. I fucking love it.
I totally see how it can do that. I mean, it's funny you bring up Alex and her pregnancy and regretting, like, not jumping into motherhood. Because in the last episode, his name is Tom Foster Carter.
You mean the episode 6?
Yeah, episode 6.
Yes.
He started a mobile bank. He's very successful at it. But he also talks about how he missed his first child basically growing up. And I know it's different because he's a man. He's not the one who gave birth to the child. But it was his wife who pulled him back and was basically like, hey,
jackass. That's what I would have been like.
Like, you're losing out here. And you need to, like, be a father. And he says he completely regrets not being there. And you can't take those moments back.
And that's something that I think people forget when you get wrapped up in, like, this rock star, okay, like, quote, I'm, like, rolling my eyes.
Yeah.
Quote, unquote, like, rock star world of, like, entrepreneurship and startups is, like, your life passes you by and you cannot get that time back.
Yeah, and they talk about it, how it's not even that great. Like, that image of, like, eating pizza and drinking beer and playing ping pong, that's, like, not even the majority of what you spend your time on.
Yeah.
Most of it is just, like, back-breaking, mind-breaking work.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other things I thought was really important to note, and it came up a couple times, like, throughout the series, or mini-series, I guess, is the importance of timing and knowing your limits. Because if someone isn't ready to go on, like, a mental health journey or explore the, like, those facets of themselves, nothing is going to happen and nothing's going to change. It's all about getting yourself to that point where you're like, this is my limit. I acknowledge that this is my limit. This is the time that I need to fix it. And I'm ready.
Yeah, and there's no shame in that. They talk about, like, the way they talk about mental health in this series, because it's about, like, business and being productive, is they talk about it as, like, economical.
Yeah.
So, like, the better you take care of yourself, the better you can be an employee, the better you can be a CEO. They don't talk about it in terms of, like, the touchy-feely way we talk about it. With, like, hashtag self-care, you know, go drop bubble bath.
Yeah, exactly. All of that stuff. And I really do think that taking care of your mental health is an investment in yourself, exactly like they said. Yeah. Whether it's investing in yourself to become a better friend or a better parent or a better startup founder or whatever.
Yeah, it's just an interesting way to talk about it, because maybe that, like, hashtag self-care, Instagram-y type of mental health stuff doesn't apply or relate to a lot of people.
Yeah, which, I mean, a lot of it doesn't apply to me. Well, I guess it does, but it doesn't actually, like, speak to me on a deep level where I feel comfortable talking about this stuff. And I just love this podcast series, guys. Please go listen to it. It's
and
amazing.
One of the most notable people that guest on it is Michael Acton Smith, who is the founder of the Calm app, which is a meditation app. And I loved the way that he talked about meditation. He said it's like going to the gym for your brain, which you probably heard before as a metaphor. But the more you exercise pulling your attention to the moment, the more you build strength. So the more you pull yourself back and focus, the better you can do it by yourself. And the quicker you can do it next time that your attention goes away. Which is, like, such a simple, succinct, powerful way to describe that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, meditation is all about making sure that you, like, are focused on the moment in front of you and are fully appreciating it. Like, you're not bothered with what's happened in the past. You're not worried or planning about what's coming up in the future. It's all about the now. And to circle back to what I was saying about my Italian day that I do, that's exactly what it is for me. It's about enjoying every moment and not worrying about, oh, you know what? I did not finish what I meant to do yesterday. Or, you know what? Yeah. I need to, like, plan up for my week and, like, I need to, like, set a schedule for tomorrow. It's all about watching my coffee brew.
And if your mind does wander, your brain is stronger, quote unquote, and you can pull it back a little faster. And also, I just want to bring up that he said that he came up with this meditation app idea because a long time ago, he reserved the domain calm.com. And just like that, like, that's it. he just reserved the domain and he was going to do something with it and he didn't know yet, but he just wanted the domain. Like,
exactly.
Like, it's not all glamour and, like, Mark Zuckerberg Facebook, like, writing on a glass whiteboard bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just like the name.
Exactly. And then when it's the right time, remember, timing is a huge deal, guys. I mean, when it's the right time, things will start to happen, or you'll notice things and pay attention to other things. And it's just so true in every area of life, I feel. Not even for mental health, but, like, in terms of your career, in terms of your social life and your friends, things happen, and certain things happen at certain times, and it just gives you cues and, like, clues you in to, like, oh, this is what I need to be paying attention to right now.
Yeah, and I know you said that the first episode was your favorite. It was actually, my favorite was the last episode, the 6th episode. So the guy's name is, again, Tom Foster Carter, and he actually has a very severe sort of tragic background in mental health. So his mother apparently was a paranoid schizophrenic, like before people even knew what that was. And his brother committed suicide, and he was the one who found his brother.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I do.
So he had, like, the most tragic story, and it made me realize that the fact that I related to it meant that my depression isn't actually the kind that most people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked about this with my therapist, and basically the kind of depression that I have is chronic, and it's like a biological thing, and it's not because of burnout or, like, not having enough people love me or anything like that. It's, like, literally, like, just a cycle that my brain goes through.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, knowing the fact that my depression is, like, on the extreme end of the scale, and it's actually a really special case, it helps me give more credit to myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It helps me, like, give more credit to my accomplishments, because, like, at the same time I'm fighting through all of this thing. And now that I'm taking antidepressants and it's all starting to feel better, I don't know, it just makes me feel emotional, because it feels like I've been swimming a race this whole time and I'm comparing myself to everybody else. But after taking antidepressants, I found out that I had a weight around my neck, and that's why I was swimming so slow.
Yeah. It has nothing to do with how hard you, like, are trying, or your strength, or how much you want it. It's just your circumstance, and that's okay.
Yeah, it makes me feel kind of happy, but at the same time kind of sad in a bittersweet way, because it's like, oh, this is how normal people feel. And normal, quote unquote, because what does that mean anyway? But,
Exactly.
but, like, this is how people accomplish things, and this whole time this could have been me. Or, like, if I wasn't sick, how much would I have accomplished anyway? But I'm glad I got the help I needed, and I'm still young and there's still so much to do, so I'm hopeful.
Yes, that is such a great way of looking at it. And I know that there is this one quote, I fucking forget who said it, I don't remember, but it goes something like, without, like, the darkness there cannot be light. And I feel that because, you know, a lot of people, especially these 6 entrepreneurs, and us, I'm gonna lump us into that category.
We're gonna put it out there in the universe.
Because we've been through such shit, and we know what bad times, really, really dark bad times look like, that when we get to the light and when we're fully in it, it just seems that much more amazing. And, like, you really feel like the sun, like, touching your skin, and, like, the smell of, like, the air, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it feels like you're feeling everything for the first time.
I know, and it's just like, amazing. Like, you just start crying because you're just so happy, and you can't remember the last time you felt like that.
Yes.
Like, I'm tearing up right now, and, like, remembering those times that I've, like, come out of really dark places and just been like, oh my God, I forgot that this is what it was like.
Yeah, I forgot how happiness feels.
Yeah, I forgot how good coffee is. Like, just, like, stupid little things. Or, like, I forgot what laughing at, like, a comedy special feels like, you know? And it's just stuff like that, you know, that's important to remember.
And to get back to, like, to the touchy-feely mental health stuff, like, I think that's also important. It's also why it's important to have a gratitude journal.
Yeah.
Or, like, just a gratitude practice.
Do you have a gratitude journal / practice right now?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
I write it all down.
Tell us about it.
You know what? No, today, this is why I'm laughing. Today I wrote that I was grateful for water.
Ooh.
Because I'm about to go on a weekend trip to Death Valley. Like, literally the hottest place on earth.
Yeah.
So I'm not taking that shit for granted.
No. Hashtag water is life. Hashtag H2O.
Literally.
humor in there. This has been kind of a serious episode.
But yeah, we love this podcast. If you're at all interested or not, it's still like it's so good. Just listen to it like on your way to work or something.
Yeah, and even though the episodes are between 50 and 60 minutes, it fucking flies by.
Yeah.
Like, I became so engaged with the conversations and the interviews that I was surprised when it ended. And I was like, oh, what? This is done? No.
Yeah, and if you have any little bit of imposter syndrome at all, this also really helps because these are like really, really successful people. And one of them openly admits to like basically having the biggest white male privilege. He's like, I haven't really had any hard times in my life. But like,
I was like, I'm fucking jealous. Jesus.
yeah, but even he like has to go through all of that stuff with his employees. So it's super helpful. And I love that I listened to it and I love that I made it part of my year.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the little things that you can do, not even for, your mental health specifically, but to just help open your mind to the other stories out there about mental health and about, comparing yourself to other people and imposter syndrome. It's really just a personal way to connect with other people's stories that I really, really enjoyed.
Absolutely. Very well said.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you to Natalie and Jonathan and everybody else. Please email us at selfhelpuspodcast@gmail.com.
And if you email us, we will give you a shout out on the podcast. So
let's hope that motivates the lot of you.
Exactly.
Fucking slackers. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Even if you're just like, hey guys, I love your podcast, we'll be like, oh my god, Stacy loves our podcast.
Stacy from Michigan, yay!
Yay! Okay, guys, well, it's about that time where we wrap up. So
try your best to live your best lives.
Take care, guys.
Bye.